Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 197 of PopCultX, a Gen X pop culture show. Sorry, we're not a cult, even though cults are very hot right now.
Hold on. Before you go any further, if we were a cult, what would our followers be called?
I have no idea. PopCultX. I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. We have to come
It's
up
a good thing we're not a cult then, right?
I know. Before we dominate the United States, we have to come up with a cool name for our acolyte.
Let's ask that to everyone out there. What would you guys want to be called as the followers of the cult of PopCultX? Xers? Cultxers?
I don't know.
Poppers? I'll leave that up to you guys in the comments. Drop your favorite in there.
So this week we're talking about a fun topic. Actually, we're going to be talking about gender roles and how Gen X sort of what our perspective is on that. And let's go ahead and get into it and get the discussion going. So gender roles or gender is a really hot topic, obviously, right now with trans rights and people's rights being sort of taken away and possibly destroyed and people being erased and the visibility being taken away from. But the thing that is interesting for me and like the one aspect of that I'd like to discuss is growing up, all of the coolest people I felt played with the gender roles like that we had growing up, all of our musical icons, if you will. Like if you think about Annie Lennox, she definitely had like a very masculine presenting androgynous look. You had Prince, who played with femininity and the way that he performed and his outward appearance. You had David Bowie, who played with gender roles and makeup and hair and style and drag. And all
David
that.
Bowie was at Ziggy Stardust.
Yeah, and I mean, you had Boy George, who was in drag and like full makeup, and this was people that we grew up with, and this is why I don't understand that people who are our age today have such a problem or fixation on people who play with gender roles, because we grew up with that in pop culture. It was such a hot, kind of what would you call that? Like, I don't want to call it trend because it wasn't necessarily something that's like in or out of trend or popularity. But it definitely was something that existed throughout our growing up, our youth, and was very popular. I mean, those you had all of those people that I mentioned were on top of the charts. Like those were the people that ruled MTV. Like you could not turn off your television and not see them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you think even you go deeper into like hair metal bands, right? Or like Sister and stuff like that. It's like they're playing with those gender roles and those what we grew up with. It's like we're used to it, or we should be. So like you said, people that our age having an issue with it or not understanding it, it's like, what are you talking about? It's what we knew.
One specific example that I kind of find interesting is I have a family member who's very conservative and is when I say that, I think you know what I'm talking about. And
okay.
He grew up listening to Poison. I remember specifically him bringing in like a cassette with Poison, and I think it was the album Look What the Cat Dragged In. I think it was what it was called. And all four band members are like in full drag. Like they've got lipstick on, they've got eyeshadow on, blush, like their hair is like totally frizzed out. They look like women, and like they look like hot women too. Like so like what's interesting to me is like he was super down and cool with that. And who knows what his inner thoughts were about that, about these men that were dressed up like that in this glam rock fashion, and then grows up and turns around and then like says you shouldn't be playing around with gender, and gender is something that is like specifically male or female or masculine and feminine. And here he was just like a few decades ago rocking out to Poison.
Yeah,
Doesn't make sense to me.
you're right. It doesn't. It's very strange. Especially if you think about it, I mean, a lot of these conservative type people,
Yeah,
you look in their past and you look and you'll see them at costume parties, pictures of them at costume parties in drag more or less, right?
yeah,
And you see them doing these type of things and maybe it was for a laugh or whatnot, but they fully embraced it.
yeah. Well, and that's the thing that's kind of interesting for me is that like when you said like maybe it was for a laugh, like that's okay. Like drag is funny. Like it
Right,
is a thing that you can laugh at. And it's like um people are so afraid of it. It's like why are you afraid of something that like you can have fun with and laugh and be have an enjoyable moment? It's not, that's something that's not supposed to be taken seriously, which is like not to confuse the idea of like being trans and drag. Like one is a form of entertainment, the
right,
other is
right.
like people, a
Yeah,
group of people, and yeah, it's just weird, but it just when we started developing this topic about pop culture, how it influenced us, well, that's one of the things that like I think made me very accepting and liberal as an adult is growing up with all of these really cool musicians that played with the notion of what is masculine and what is feminine and blurred the lines between the two. I mean, there's multiple examples of that. Like, I mean, Alice Cooper, um, uh, you mentioned Twisted Sister. They wore more makeup than like Britney Spears does, or um, you had Prince, uh, and certainly Michael Jackson like played with ideas of what it is to be masculine and feminine. Like his speaking voice was very soft and demure, yet he wrote lyrics that were very masculine and very stuck to that idea of what it is to be a man and
yeah.
masculine, right? Chasing women and being bad and all of that. So it's do you think that now that people are doing that again, that are playing with that the visual of masculine and feminine, that it's sort of like the older generation is just being like, I don't know, old fuddy-duddies, like they're just like not letting people have fun when they had fun. I mean, those were very popular bands. So like a large majority of people were like liking them and were cool with them. And now all of a sudden they're not. Like a good majority of people are not down with it. So I don't understand where the disconnect is with that. Like where did that what
Yeah.
happened to people?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's a good point. What happened to them? I mean, growing up, all those bands, yes, that you mentioned, I listened to, I heard. I mean, I might not have understood Boy George at the time,
Yeah.
and because it was how old was I when he was in his heyday, right? Maybe 10, 11.
Yeah.
And I didn't quite grasp what it was because here is someone named Boy George, but he's feminine presenting, and I'm like, I don't get it, but I like the music, so that didn't really matter to me.
Yeah.
So and I think that's what stuck with me the most is if the music is good and it relates to me,
Yeah.
the visuals aren't as important. So why people are fixated on that and stuck with that, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really weird. I mean, are there anyone that in modern day pop culture that you can think of that does it as successfully as people in Gen X
Hmm.
times were doing it. I think of like a number of drag queens that are very successful that kind of blur that idea of what it is to be feminine and masculine and man and woman. But as far as music, I'm trying to think of anyone outside of Lady Gaga, maybe that
Hmm.
plays with you know plays with that. She famously dressed up as a guy for the MTV Music Awards a few years back. Um, who else? I'm trying to think of if there's anyone else that is really good at that.
And are we just talking strictly just visuals?
No, not necessarily
Okay.
just visuals, but it could be, their lyrics, their. their attitude, their
Right.
being.
Okay. Um, I think I think Billie Eilish does a good job of that with her
Yeah,
appearance because she wears the oversized clothing to not accentuate her her physique. And she really just, plays that middle of the road with that appearance and with her appearance, I guess. And I think she does a really good job of that.
that's true. That's a really good, I think, example of that, of someone who is playing with. I think has some like dalliances or like played with ideas of like uber femininity, like posed with like lingerie and
Yeah.
like heavily done makeup and hair, and has explored that aspect of her personality. I think Lorde is another one that is a good example of that. Like, I think she is either non-binary or is I can't speak to it because I don't really know that much about it, but um she's another example of someone who is, you know, bending the rules of what it
Mhm.
means to be on the binary of masculine and feminine for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I think those are two good examples. Now, if you were to look at like the let's say male entertainers, right,
Yeah.
or musicians, um, I can't think of one offhand who really is playing into that.
I think like Sam Smith does that a bit. He has gone into playing with certain aspects of looks of,
Yeah, I can see that.
femininity. He's kind of with that song "Unholy" that he did with Kim Petras, that he sort of
Yeah,
played with the ideas of like femininity and drag and things like that. Adam Lambert, I think, is another one that plays with makeup and hairstyle that it would be considered feminine, um, but is, masculine. I mean, it's redefining what it
mhm.
is to be masculine, or redefining what it is to be a man, or male presenting. But
I
yeah,
think that's more important. Or what I see more of is musicians redefining what the masculine role is,
yeah,
more so as opposed to them playing into the old notion of, oh, I'm going to be dressed like this to show my feminine side. I think they're, and I enjoy that, is that they are redefining what a man is, or and I think that's the real cool part.
yeah, yeah. I was thinking. I think one of the Jonas Brothers has a new record out, and it's very heartfelt and very like open letter. Like, his
Mhm.
emotions are very much like on his sleeve, like very emotive and expressive. And I think that that's not something that men in pop music or in R&B, if you will, um, necessarily show a lot of being uh, vulnerable
Yeah,
and
true.
being sad, or being having emotions. Like, typically it's like longing for a woman,
Yeah,
or being, sad that you don't have a woman, or breaking up with a woman. But um
or
you
what
see,
you want to do to a woman. Yeah,
yeah, it's like it's a little bit more, there's like sophistication that's being added to the range of emotion that's being shown in songs and in music. And I think that's one of example that I can kind of think of as Nick Jonas, is one of those characters that is doing that. The other one is, what's his name? He's from Canada. Uh,
that narrows it down.
yeah, Mendes, Sam Mendes. Is that his name? Sam
Yeah,
Mendes.
yeah.
Does that sound right? Or Adam
That
Mendes? Something
Sam
Mendes.
Mendes, I think, is correct.
Yeah. He talked about, being having anxiety and having to be in therapy, and I thought that was very revolutionary, in the sense that a lot of men don't talk about wanting to be in therapy, or needing therapy, or having anxiety, or having those complex emotions. So he's another example of like someone who's redefining that for us.
I think I agree. I think with the new generation, I think to like artists like Benson Boone and
Yeah,
a lot of his songs are also in that vulnerable side of emotions that maybe, you know, our older generation didn't really talk about. So they're being redefined there. And
yeah,
I think that's really great.
yeah, yeah. That's really cool. moving forward, I think that we're going to see more of that. That we're going to see as our political environment continues to be a very conservative, narrow-minded sort of perspective. You're going to see people pushing the boundaries a lot more.
Hmm.
You're going to see people fighting back against that
Yeah.
because I think people are going to refuse to be silenced or to be erased. And they're going to show more of their authentic selves. The more it tries to be pushed down,
Hmm.
it's going to have the opposite effect.
Yeah. I'm all for a resurgence of punk rock music.
Yeah,
Let it lead the way. I think that's something that back in its heyday was really, we didn't really think about it that much. At least I didn't, as it being really a, middle finger to the machine, if you want, Rage Against the Machine. And well,
yeah,
they weren't really punk, but you get the point.
yeah.
It was, and I think with newer bands coming out, like you said, push back against the conservative government, push back against AI technology. It's going to be this huge resurgence of live music and telling people, just relating how expressing their feelings so everyone else can hopefully gravitate towards them.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Kind of in the line in within what we're talking about, wanted to touch base with you about this topic. Nicki Minaj being MAGA. Did
Yeah.
that just like was that like not on your bingo card at all? Like were you guys like shocked as I was that her like 180?
Well, I mean, it all came down to I think I read that she was trying to get her husband's record expunged. Is
Yeah.
that the right way of putting it? Expunge? Is that right? I think
Yeah,
that's
she
right.
wants a pardon for him.
Yeah. So she's playing ball to just get that done. And I think maybe that's most punk rock, right? Using the system against themselves or using,
I thought about that. Like I thought like what if this is her way of just using the system to really horribly though. Let me preface that because her family members are not good people. Like if they get a pardon, I will be upset. Like they're not good people. So like that's the
yeah,
preface.
yeah, I get that. Yeah,
But
definitely.
I thought like, what if this is her way of like, I'm going to infiltrate the system, get my pardons, and then go back to my regular life as regularly planned. Um, I thought about that, but the amount of damage that she's going to do by the things that she said, like, is really crazy if she's doing that intentionally to
Yeah,
just
yeah,
to help
yeah.
her own personal interest because
Hmm.
you could do that silently, you could do that behind the scenes. She could have talked to Donald Trump and like said I need a pardon, and not gone public and tried to be anti-trans and all of that. She could have just said like I need a pardon.
Oh,
So
I'm
that
sure part of the stipulation was if you're going to get a pardon, you have to come out and then make these announcements.
maybe, I mean, maybe that's part of this whole evil plan. I am shocked. I was really proud of San Diego though because there was a video that came out of a DJ playing a Nicki Minaj song at a club in San Diego, and everyone started booing and walking off the dance floor, and so I was really proud of San Diego for like sticking to their guns and being like, we're not going to accept this. Like this is unacceptable behavior, and like you're done. So that was a kind of cool stance that people took in San Diego.
I guess I can say if I ever heard a Nicki Minaj song, I wouldn't know it because
Yeah.
I don't really know.
I'll be honest, there was like one or two songs that I liked of hers, like, but I was far from like a Nicki Minaj fan. Like one or two songs, like I said, that were
Mhm.
that were catchy that I liked, but a lot of irony in the whole situation of someone who has just a lot of irony. I could go
Yeah,
really deep into it, but um, it caught me off guard. I'm glad that we still have Cardi B. I'm much more of a Cardi B fan. Her tour is going to be coming out very soon. Hopefully, I can get tickets to go see her because I love the support and the celebration of the queer community that she does. She recently brought out her trans makeup artist and stylist to sort of show support to the community by saying like, these are the people that dress me and do my makeup and my hair, and they're the trendsetters are the ones that are like that are creating culture that everyone is sort of emulating. So I thought that was really cool.
That is cool. That is really cool. I mean, you don't think about them that often, I guess, especially, well, I mean, as photographers, maybe we do a little bit more because if we're going to capture someone who is a style or a trendsetter, someone has to glam them up, someone has to dress them. But when you think about it, those people aren't really those artists, and I will call them artists, aren't really talked about that often, and they should be.
Yeah, they're not as celebrated as often as they should be. I think like the most famous stylist is probably La Roche,
Yeah.
and but like he's one out of how many? Like
Hmm.
so it is cool that she's taking the time to like put some light and some like respect on their name.
Yeah,
If you will.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Um, well, gender roles and how they're defined goes extends beyond music.
yeah.
So there's also movies, TV shows, books. Was there any TV show or movie that you remember watching that really stood out to you that defined, hey, this is the gender role, and back when you were growing up, and then any currently that maybe has changed that viewpoint for you?
I think that, like, to be honest, Wonder Woman was probably one of the first shows that I really loved as a kid,
Mm-hmm.
and it really did play against gender roles because you had a strong Latina woman who played Wonder Woman. I mean, she Wonder Woman herself is not Latina, but she was played by
Yeah,
a Latina woman, and she was strong and intelligent and was fighting against like patriarchy and the roles of a submissive, woman, or the idea of what a woman should be. So that was probably the first one that I ever saw, like started to respect and see women in a light that is like, they don't have to be a certain way. They don't have to um, dress a certain way. They don't have to speak a certain way. They can be strong and be heroes. And that was the first one for me. What about you?
Ooh, shows that or movies that defy general gender roles.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I haven't really thought about that one too much. I was thinking more along the lines that of films and shows that really, um, I guess, fit the stereotype of what we expected to see a man or woman do. So,
Yeah.
like growing up watching like the Flintstones or or cartoons like that, where the man went to work and the woman stayed home, and that was really driven into us as kids, especially and different cartoons, like even in The Simpsons, right? Even in stuff like that, where it was really defined roles. Now, for ones that broke those roles, I'll get back to you on that. Let me think about that.
Well, do you remember there was a lot of shows that kind of came out in the 80s that were like post-feminist movement, like Alice, um, what's the one with Valerie Bertinelli and the show that she was on? I forget, but it was like a single mom raising two daughters
I think I
with
know what you mean.
Schneider.
Yeah,
Yeah, with Schneider was like their friend or their neighbor or whatever.
yeah, yeah.
Um, you had a lot of sitcoms that were
They
like
did
that.
a remake of that.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah,
And from with like Latinas.
yeah.
Um, One Day at a Time is what it's
Yes,
called. Yeah.
yes. There you go. Yeah, I remember
And
watching that. Yeah,
yeah, and so those were definitely ones again that spoke to me, that showed women as being the breadwinner, as being independent of men or a man, and showing them like thriving, sort of having their ups and downs, but at the end of the day, like making it through life, being a woman on their own and kind of making up the rules as they went along.
yeah,
So those were two that I can kind of think of that were, and they were funny. Like I liked watching them because they were like hilarious.
yeah, yeah. I mean, you're right. I agree.
Yeah,
Still haven't thought of mine, but yeah, I agree.
yeah. There were a lot. I mean, when you think about it, there were a lot in the 80s of like facts of life. You had Edna
Yeah,
Garrett sort of being the head of, group of girls that were, it was, basically, uh, I mean, if you want to call it a girl show, like it was from the perspective of what four or five different girls growing up, and um, they had a lot of hot topics like, you know, losing your virginity, things like that were um, really breaking things down back then, like that were really groundbreaking.
yeah, yeah. I remember watching that show, and I think as life progressed and like get into like shows like Living Single,
Yeah.
I think that one really stood out to me because it showed, that you don't just have to be in a family dynamic, and it's more of the chosen family dynamic, which I think really stuck with me a lot. Shows it where it's a group of friends, even though I never watched Friends, so let's not count that one. But it's your group of friends and it's your chosen family.
Yeah.
And I think within that chosen family, the rules of the traditional gender roles didn't really apply.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and Living Single was great. I mean, it definitely showed women in a very positive light. Queen Latifah's character ran her own magazine, was like
hmm
head of
hmm
household. You had Max, who was a lawyer.
yeah,
You had Regine. I mean, they were all very strong, independent women. And um, for TV to show, what, four or five, black women on TV that were um, funny and smart and
hmm
witty, and
hmm
it was a great show. Like I
yeah,
much preferred Living Single over Friends. Like
me too.
I'll take that any day. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, were there any other films that spoke to you, movies as opposed to just TV shows?
That in under the topic of like gender roles or like gender, I can't really think of any films outside of like The Crying Game. I remember that being a big one where the main character was I don't know what you want to call it, if they were trans or if they were in drag or what. I haven't seen the movie in such a long time. I don't remember, but I remember that being like a
hmm
big movie about that. But um, a 9 to 5 was really popular. I loved that movie, and that was very like post-feminist movement,
Yeah,
showing women in the 80s kind of doing it for themselves, like fighting the male dominant, corporations and um, doing it in like such a fun, humorous way.
yeah.
9 to 5 was really big. I love that movie.
I think the only film that really checked all those boxes for me was
Yeah.
Mrs. Doubtfire.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, you have not just that because he's dressed up as Mrs. Doubtfire, but
Yeah.
because he learned how to run the household,
Yeah.
he learned how to take care of himself, to clean, and I think it just showed me that you don't. It doesn't just have to be the woman. You have Sally Field character who's the architect. She has her career, and Robin Williams character is the actor who's the stay-at-home dad, if you will, and he's learning how to grow in that life.
Yeah.
So that's what popped into my head.
And that's another example of like society being okay with drag and then like turning
Exactly.
doing a
hmm
180 and being like, oh my God, it's evil. Like when Robin Williams was doing it, everyone was fine with it. Like it's
Yeah.
a super popular movie. Everyone like saw that it's hilarious, it's funny, it's not that big of a deal. Like people have been doing drag since like Shakespeare's time. Like, get over it.
Yes. In Shakespeare's time, they were all men. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I I was thinking a couple days ago about a film that came out when I was working at a movie theater, and let's see if you can guess it. Patrick Swayze, Wesley Snipes,
The
and
one.
John Leguizamo.
Yeah.
Yes. I remember when that movie premiered, one of the managers that worked there with me, him and two of his friends came in full drag to the
Oh,
premiere of
really?
the film. It was such a fun moment, right? It was celebrating that film and celebrating it. I think it was just such a great moment, and I think back on that now, and it's like, oh, that was so cool, so fun, and I didn't really, I don't think I really understood it then because I think it was what, maybe 18, 19, or 20, somewhere in there, but it thinking back now, it's like, wow, that was really powerful and that really spoke to them because they got to come in as, you know, these drag queens, as if you will, and they just really enjoyed that and they brought a lot of cheer to people. They weren't seen in negative light at all.
Yeah. That's such an iconic film. To Wong Fu, thanks for everything, Julie Newmar.
Yeah.
For so many reasons. First and foremost, for Patrick Swayze and Wesley Snipes being like top action stars at the time,
Hmm.
and then go turning around and doing drag was brilliant. Like it was such a great idea, like to turn these masculine guys into these feminine icons was amazing. And John Leguizamo, uh, hilarious in it, just super super funny. But again, another example of seeing where drag is funny and doesn't need to be taken so seriously, and it's like it's just makeup and a wig. Like it's not that big of a deal.
Right. Yeah. Yep. And I think one of the last bullet points you have here in the document I'm reading, and I think this can read a different couple ways. You have that villains are often queerer than heroes. Now, what
Yeah.
did you mean by that?
If you notice a lot of times like villains in movies are kind of queer coded, and they do that for a number one reason to vilify queer people, um,
Hmm. Hmm.
and to
Okay.
make us the villain. And then two, I think it makes people be able to act in a way that is outside of the constraints of like very rigid masculinity. So like I think of someone like Freddy Krueger, he's not necessarily like a gay person. Like I wouldn't say Freddy Krueger's gay, but he's definitely queer coded in the sense that like he has a queer sensibility, like his sarcasm and the way that he taunts people and has these one-liners and um speaks to the queer community in a way that they feel that he's like an icon of queerdom.
Yeah.
So yeah, like he would be an example of how a villain is. Another one would be like Scar from The Lion King. The
Yeah.
affectations, the speaking voice, the way the character is, developed is very much like a queer coded character. So there are examples of sort of villains in pop culture that are queer coded is Disney and their animated villains. You have someone like Ursula who was basically designed
Mm-hmm.
and created to resemble Divine, the drag queen, and was very over the top, flamboyant.
Yeah.
I mentioned Scar. You have Jafar, who is also very queer coded in the sense that he is very flamboyant. Um, Sort of has a defiance for like rigid masculinity
Yeah.
and then you have like Hades from Hercules, who again, the sarcasm, flamboyance, and sharp camp humor. A lot of times, movies or Hollywood uses camp and sarcasm to sort of identify a character as being queer, so that we kind of get that wink, wink aspect of the character.
Yeah. Okay.
Uh, and oftentimes it's the villain because they can safely do that. Where it's not the hero. We're not saying that it's heroic to be queer, but at the same time, like they're giving the audience a queer character to sort of like, even though they may be the villain.
Interesting. I never really thought about that, about how what you just said, that they're making the villains have those queer coded so that we villainize being that. That's
Yeah.
interesting. I never thought about that. That's
Well,
very
and
true
that's
though.
like one of the things that like is hard to watch about Silence of the Lambs because you have people like confusing um that character, Buffalo Bill, as being like a trans character or being a trans villain, or even just being queer in general, and confusing with like oh well, that's what they're like, or
Right,
that's
right.
what, so it's that's one of my favorite films to watch, but um it's definitely um it's like a fine line between creating a character that is authentically queer, but like doesn't play into stereotypes or the fears of straight society, like, we want to kill you, we want to, hurt you, do whatever. um and so yeah, like, but a lot of times it sort of works in the opposite way. Like you have these so-called villains that become sort of heroes to the queer
Yeah,
community,
yeah,
because they're the misfits, they're the ones that are on the outskirts of society, and you end up liking them more than you do the hero.
yeah. And I think that it goes beyond just that. I mean, I think a lot of villains, also for actors, they're more fun to portray.
Right. And it goes to like what I was saying, like that those villains or those characters that are coded as queer, they're not boxed into that like really rigid masculinity, which is
Yeah,
very confining and
yeah,
very constrained and very not fun to play or
yeah,
to act out. They get to be flamboyant, they get to be sarcastic, they get to be over the top, which is fun. Like that's
yeah.
really fun to be like that.
They're not set by that certain set of rules that they get. The world is their oyster.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're not John Wayne. They're not, stuck into being that rigid man. They get to live it up. So yeah, definitely.
definitely. Yeah, I think if I ever got more into acting and everything, I'd want to play a villain. Definitely.
I thought you were going to say you'd want to be a drag queen.
If that's what the role demands to be a villain, then I'll do it. Damn it, okay?
A pop cult X first. Danny is going to be broadcasting in drag next week.
That'll be the episode 200 celebration. There we go.
Yeah, that's the big surprise we've been working up towards.
There you go. Well, everyone, thanks for dropping by this episode. Come back next week. We got a couple more exciting topics on this whole growing up with pop culture on the Gen X perspective. And we'll see you guys next time.
See ya.